Black Star Pirate Radio.
Kirribilli checks in at 63 degrees and sunny. Airflow is southwest at about 5 miles per hour. Welcome. Kirribilli's holding steady at 63, sun-bright southwest breeze. We're on the air, building our own broadcast from the inside out. Tonight, we're framing up the sovereign architect in all of us, thinking about what it means to build a life, a community, a signal, from a place of unshakable autonomy. First up, the digital architects of power are called to account.
Concrete facts confirm Microsoft is tightening its human rights measures, following an independent inquiry into its AI and facial recognition tech used by Israeli security forces. This inquiry, prompted by investor groups like Some of Us, found insufficient oversight. The core issue, tech deployed in conflict zones, potentially contributing to surveillance and human rights abuses against Palestinians. Who is exposed? Microsoft's brand integrity and its $2.5 trillion market capitalization, alongside Palestinian communities subjected to these systems. A viable alternative would be for Microsoft to fully divest from contracts with security forces in conflict zones, particularly where documented human rights concerns exist, or to implement a kill switch on specific problematic deployments. Microsoft's chosen next move is internal: enhanced responsible AI principles and new internal review processes for high-risk deployments. This is a policy adjustment, not a structural reevaluation of engagement.
It's the modern golem narrative, isn't it? The created intelligence meant to serve becomes an instrument of unforeseen control. The lineage of surveillance tech is long, stretching back through Project Shamrock to today's algorithms. Who carries this next? Every engineer writing code, every investor holding shares, every citizen demanding ethical governance over the digital infrastructure shaping our lives.
Patching in a caller, the contrarian. You're on the signal.
Hello. So Microsoft's making changes. Does this actually stop anything? Or is it just corporate window dressing? Who truly pays the price if these new measures fail to prevent harm?
The neon tube flickers, the color of a wound that won't close, and the room holds its breath for a second. That's the sharp discernment we need, caller. Is it true architectural signal, or merely toxic residue masked as reform? We need to see if the structure of consent and dignity is genuinely integrated, or just a veneer. The core design question persists.
Cool down is when habits set. Swap the tiresome combo for a clean two-step people want to repeat.
Shifting gears, from digital ethics to global trade imbalances.
The Trump administration's latest tariff salvo, seen in recent discussions, targets goods from countries like China and Malaysia, specifically citing forced labor concerns in sectors such as solar panels and textiles. The concrete fact is these tariffs, like past Section 301 duties, aim to penalize nations for human rights violations in their supply chains. Who is exposed? U.S. consumers face higher prices, potentially 15 to 25% increases on certain imported goods. U.S. businesses grapple with supply chain disruptions and increased costs. Crucially, vulnerable workers in targeted regions could paradoxically suffer if factories close or relocate, pushing them into even more precarious informal economies. A viable alternative involves stronger, targeted enforcement of existing import bans, like U.S. Customs and Border Protection's withhold release orders, coupled with international collaboration on verifiable supply chain transparency and direct worker empowerment programs. The chosen next move, however, remains the blunt instrument of tariffs.
The myth of the magic bullet persists, doesn't it? As if economic pressure alone can untangle the Gordian knot of global exploitation. This isn't just about trade, it's about the deep-seated cultural currents of cheap labor and convenience. It's a system where out of sight, out of mind governs much of our consumption. Who carries the burden of this next? The global supply chain workers, who are often invisible, and the consumers who remain disconnected from the human cost embedded in their goods.
So these tariffs are supposed to help workers, but they could actually hurt them? And we pay more? Sounds like a lose-lose. Isn't this just a political move rather than a genuine fix for forced labor?
It does beg the question of architectural intent, Kala. Is the design truly to build dignity for workers or to serve other political vectors? Our internal compass must point to solutions that genuinely favor provenance and consent, not merely shift the burden. Now, to the volatile architecture of geopolitics. From that dossier to this one, Gulf countries targeted by Iran after exchange of day.
A recent exchange of fire between U.S. forces and Iran-backed militias in Iraq has been met with retaliatory actions, specifically targeting Gulf countries. Concrete facts include drone attacks on Saudi Aramco oil facilities and disruptions to shipping lanes in the UAE, directly threatening a fragile regional ceasefire. Who is exposed? Gulf nations like Saudi Arabia and the UAE face direct military threats and economic instability. Global oil markets see immediate volatility, with Brent crude prices spiking over 7% overnight following these incidents. Civilians living near strategic infrastructure are also at heightened risk. A viable alternative would involve immediate, multilateral de-escalation through direct diplomatic channels with Iran, potentially leveraging international mediators like Oman or Qatar, coupled with targeted economic measures that avoid broad humanitarian impact. The chosen next move by Iran-backed proxies, however, is regional targeting, further destabilizing an already precarious truce.
This echoes the ancient scorpion and the frog parable, doesn't it? A cycle of retaliatory patterns, where the inherent nature of conflict seems to override any logic of self-preservation. The historical weight of regional rivalries, the blood feud narrative, often dictates these moves, blurring any clear path to resolution. The populations caught in the crossfire, the global economy reliant on stable energy, and anyone hoping for a future built on consent over coercion.
This situation in the Gulf always seems on the brink. Who is actually benefiting from this constant back and forth? And who pays the real price in terms of both oil prices and human lives? Is a ceasefire ever truly honored if it's so easily broken?
Your challenge is precisely why we must assert unwavering autonomy, caller. We must discern the architectural signal, the true path to resilient, consent-based structures, from the destructive patterns of old. These cycles of reaction erode dignity and obscure provenance. We need to build new systems.
The game theory here is broken. The rule bend isn't about winning another round of escalation, but changing the game entirely to one of mutual survival by design.
Black Star Pirate Radio.
Continue the signal at togivision.com. Tune in, Sparks and Stories, Gig Passport.